Hello, my name is Thomas and welcome back to the personal channel, PerChat for short. In many religions, there are particular practices that are done to grow further into that specific religion. In early Judaism and in Christianity today, fasting is a practice that has been beneficial and is seen as an act of humility. Today, I would like to discuss what fasting is, my experience with fasting, and why I ultimately decided to partake in fasting. Before you begin, I would very much appreciate it if you subscribed, turned on notifications, hit that dang like button on this video, and share this video with a friend who may be looking into fasting. What is fasting? Well, fasting in general is the practice of abstinence from a certain substance. Like, in simpler terms, taking time away from eating food, or taking time away from technology, or taking time away from shopping. It could be from anything. Biblical fasting is the spiritual practice of abstaining from food for spiritual purposes. It's also an act of humility before God, denying yourself worldly desires in order to seek Him more. Nowadays, fasting is more so seen as nothing but a common religious practice. Historically, fasting has actually been practiced by believers and non-believers alike. Fasting was not only done by believers and non-believers, but was also a very popular practice at the time. Jesus fasted by going into the wilderness for 40 days and nights before starting his ministry. Nehemiah fasted to turn away from sins. This is important because he would then go on to ask the Persian king if he can help rebuild the Jerusalem temple wall. And speaking of unbelievers, even the Pharisees fasted. And this is when Jesus called out their hypocrisy for looking sad and putting on a show. He does this so in Matthew 6:16-18. He said, "When you fast, do not look somber as the hypocrites do, for they disfigure their faces to show others they are fasting. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that it will not be obvious to others that you are fasting, but only to your Father who is unseen, and your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you." Ultimately, fasting is not a forced religious practice, but it is commonly encouraged throughout Christianity. So now, to bunch this up into, two talking points at the same time, why I decided to get into fasting and my experience with fasting. More than a week back, at the time of recording, I decided to partake in fasting myself. This particular Saturday, I was feeling lonely and I really just needed to talk to a friend. So I hit up my friend Jordan, and he reassured me that I was never alone, that God always had my back. And in the midst of our conversation, he encouraged me to partake in fasting. Now at first I was a little nervous about it because I, for one, don't necessarily have the body to fast. I always thought you had to be, fit or had some body fat on you so that when you did fast, you didn't look worse or disfigured yourself. I don't know. I always thought, you had to have some requisites before, partaking in it. But what he told me was that, he's skinny too, and that he's done it before as well, and he turned out just fine. Since this conversation happened on a Saturday, I chose to do it that following Monday because I had little to nothing to do that day. Then I decided to fast from all electronics and food. The morning of, I had a job interview, and of course, I had to use my phone then, but as soon as the job interview was done, and I could, I no longer had any use for my phone, I decided to take my phone and my Xbox controller and put them in a place I would not be able to get them. Throughout the day, I felt hungry, but the hunger just didn't faze me. I felt fine, honestly. My mom and sister ate food in front of me, and they thought it would trigger me, but I told them that it was okay. What was tough, though, was fasting from electronics. That was really hard for me. You see, being a content creator, I'm constantly surrounded by technology. I'm using my phone to record this video, my computer to record audio, and then later, when this video is said and done, I'm going to edit this video on my computer. And in the background, I'm gonna have YouTube playing on my TV, so I'm constantly surrounded by all this technology. And to go a whole day without using either of it, it felt really tough. It did. Of course, my day was spent journaling, praying, and reading scripture. I read Proverbs 27:19 and John 14:18. These verses made me feel convicted, but they also reassured me at the same time. For reference, Proverbs 27:19 says, "As water reflects the face, so one's life reflects the heart." And then John 14:18 says, I will not leave you as orphans. I will come to you. It wasn't until nighttime where I tried to fall asleep where it actually got really tough. I remember feeling the urge to grab my phone from wherever I put it, and I remember having this urge to run to the pantry to go get a snack. And this was at like 11 o'clock, so midnight was right around the corner, and I could understand why I was feeling that way. But in that moment, it put a lot in perspective for me as to, how dependent I was on these worldly things to, not only, sustain me, but keep me satisfied. Having said that, I wasn't feeling hungry or anything. It was just a craving that I had. It wasn't hunger or anything else. I mean, the way I felt was abnormal, and it was right then and there where I learned how much of a grip my fleshly desires had on me. Ultimately, I made a compromise. I ended the food fast at midnight, but I didn't pick up my phone until the next morning. Overall, I found this experience beneficial and great to give all my burdens, shame, and guilt all to God. Like I said, fasting isn't a required religious practice. It is simply a choice. Based off of my experience, I would recommend this to all my friends who are trying to get closer to God. I will say this though, before fasting, it is important that you have a plan for the day. I'd say it's also important to not be held up in your room all day. If you would like, go outside, go to a park, go somewhere, quiet, somewhere that you can be alone with the Lord. And that way, no distractions or anything that will keep you distracted will be there, so that all your attention and all your focus can be on praying and spending time with Christ. And finally, the last thing that's really important in my eyes is getting rid of anything that triggers you out of sight. It'd be better to not be tempted by something that your eyes can see. From first-hand experience, sight can trigger your other senses like a domino effect. But anyway guys, that was my fasting experience. I really hope that you got something out of this video today, and maybe it encouraged you to fast on your own time. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe and leave a comment down below and give me your thoughts on what you think of this video. But of course, for more information on videos, feel free to follow me on my other two social media platforms, X and Instagram, where new information on future videos will be posted there. So until the next one, I hope you guys have a blessed day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. There we go. There you go. Oh, that's my script. That's my script. Oh my gosh. My dog now wants to be in the video.